Hey guys, welcome back to Algos Explained. My name is David Kim, and today we have a LeetCode question. It's called reverse integers. Pretty simple concept. What we're going to do is we're going to be given an integer, 32-bit, and we're going to just reverse it. So if we're given 123, we want 321 input. If it's a negative, we want a negative output. So 123 turns to 321, but negative, of course. If we have a number like 120 with a 0 on the back, we want to output it as the number 21, not any like 0 to 1. But of course, if we change it to an integer, usually that falls off. The range is this. The question specifies that it wants to be a 32-bit integer, and so this is the range: negative 2 to the power of 31 and then 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. This is the maximum 32-bit number, and when you just do 2 to the power of 31, you get an 8 instead of a 7 back there. And so that range we're going to take into consider at the very end. Right now we want to focus on how do we actually reverse it. Whenever we want to reverse anything, unless we're reversing something like an array, well, actually even reversing an array, the whole concept of it is very similar. You take either a string or an array, you have indexes of those, and you pretty much create a new string or a new array by traversing backwards. And so if we go straight to the solution, we'll be able to see it pretty clearly. A reverse int, that's what we call our problem. We're given a number, that's our argument, and let's create two variables here, string num and new num. The string num is just going to take the number to a string, and we want to do that because we can index into a string and we can't index into an integer or a number. And so we have a new num, which is a string format that we will start building up as we iterate through this string number that is now, of course, the string format. And so this is a for loop. For let I equal string num.length minus 1, we're going to pretty much go backwards. Instead of going from 0 to the end of the string, instead of going from 1, 2, 3, we're going to have a string created that is 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go backwards. And so we start at the num.length minus 1 so that we get that last index. And what we'll do is we'll make sure as long as I is greater than or equal, or greater than and equal to 0, because the 0th index is that first number. We don't want to skip out on the 0 by taking out that equal sign. We do want that. As long as I is greater than or equal to 0, we continue with this and decrement the I index by 1. And so pretty much for every single number, or every single number in that string number, we're going to add it to the new num. So pretty much at the end of this for loop, we're going to have the string num and we're going to have the new num in string format, just backwards. And once we get here, let int num is just a parsent of the new num. Parsent is just a function that will take any string, and if it's a kind of a number in a string, it'll change that into a number. And the great thing about parsent is that it will take care of this situation for us. Say we have a string, say we had our input that was 120, and we have now 121 in that. We created 120 out of our num. We created string num to be 120, and now our new num after this for loop turned out to be 0 to 1. A good thing about parsent is that it's going to take care of that 0 and it's going to knock it out, and we're just going to have a 21 number. So we take advantage of that, and our int num is pretty clean. Only thing here at this point is that we don't have a negative number. Say this was a negative 21, our string num is going to look like that. And when we parse int something like this with a random thing at the end there, it's going to just give us 21. So we don't know from here, from this parsent, we can't trust that it's a negative. Well, actually, it's never going to be a negative because that negative sign would have been thrown in the back and then gone somewhere from this. And so right here, this is pretty much our if statements. What we're using here is something called ternary. Pretty much how we can read this is int num, and I kind of doubled it up here. Return, we're going to return something. Int num is greater than or equal to math.pow, taking into consideration this range. And so as long as the int num that we have, which was the parsent, is that greater than or equal to our range. So pretty much that was our max range. Did we go beyond it or hit it? And our max range was -1 here. And so if we just have it greater than or equal to, then we will know that we are over. And so if it is over, we want to return 0. That was, I think I forgot to mention that, but that was one of the conditions of the range. If it is beyond this range, whether too small or too large, we want to just return 0. And so int num, so of course the range, check, and 0. And we have a colon here as the or. So like if statements, there's if something else, we return something, right? We don't always have to have the else, but in ternary statements, we do have that else. And then instead of having a one statement here, like a one return, I kind of comboed it up with another ternary. This is kind of a more straightforward ternary that you might see. Num, if num is less than 0, so if our argument num, that way we know, was this a negative number to begin with? Because if it was, we want to return it as a negative. Was our number less than 0 to begin with? Was it a negative? The question mark denotes the truth and the false. And so if it was, if this is truthy, then we want to return the int num, which was this parse num here. And we want to multiply it by a -1 so that we make sure we're giving back a negative number when we borrowed one. If it wasn't, then int num, we can just send it right back, because that was, we know for sure that after the parseInt and after all the flipping around, it was going to be a positive number anyways. And so that's pretty much it. If you want to walk through, one of these questions real quick, let's go ahead and do so. If you understand it, thanks for watching. But let's go ahead and take a number like one of these guys with some zeros at the end and let it be a negative. I think that's pretty much as complicated as this one can get. And so let's make our num, let's say 500, or let's say negative 5,430. And so we want to, that's our number that we're given. And our string num is going to be this number put into a string. And so that's exactly what happens. Our new num is just the empty string for now. As we're going through it, we're going to look at the last ones first. And so 0, new num is going to be a 0. And our index is going to go from here to the 3. And so we're going to be given the 3, the 4, the 5, and the negative. Once we get to this point, that is our new num with that negative sign at the end of it. And what we're going to do is int num, we're going to parse int this guy. So this is going to now be 3, 4, 5. And what we'll do is, at this point, we'll check, okay, is our int num greater than, is it within the range pretty much? And if it isn't, or if it is, then, or no, is it out of the range? Because this is the positive one. If it's greater than the positive one, then it's out. If it is, then we just return to 0. If it isn't, then we check, okay, was this a negative number to begin with? Num was this negative. The num was negative 5,430. And so since that was a negative number, that's the ugliest check mark ever. Since it was a negative number, we're going to return this portion of it. And this is not going to be returned. So we're going to take our int num, 345 times -1, and we're going to return negative 345. And so if our original number wasn't a negative, then this statement right here is false. Therefore, we would skip this side and go to this side. So pretty much in a ternary, if you aren't familiar with it, we have the statement, or the conditional, and the question mark denoting if the conditional is true or false. Now we go to either the left side or the right side, the left side being the true, the right side being the false. And so that's pretty much all there is to this question, reverse integer number 7 at LeetCode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully this helped you out, and I'll catch you in the next video.